So let's just. So we'll be recording from today.
Layante chiram jagante Ananda chinmaya sadujjvala vigrahasya Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam Adyam purana purusham navayauvanam cha Vedeshu durlabhamadurlabhamatmabhakto Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami.
So I worship Govind, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purush, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. Right? So, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, Advaitam Achyutam. So, Achyutam is who never decays, always there. Like as a human being, as any other body, right? Even devatas, right? Everyone has a decay. There is a duration and then everyone decays. But Lord Govind is Achyutam. He never decays. Anadi, right? Which is the beginning. No one, Anadi, right? No one before him. He is the beginning. Anant is infinite. Rupam. Then Adhyam. So he is the beginning. Anadi is one who is without a beginning, like there is no other origin before him. Adhyam is he is the beginning. Purana Purusham, that's Purushottam. Navayonam Che. So even though he is Advait, right? Advait means he is in everyone, right? He is one, but he is in everyone. There is nothing which is in comparison with Lord Krishna. So he is Advait, Achyutam, Anadi, Anantarupam, Adhyam, Purana Purusham, Navayonam Che. So even though he has all these qualities, he still is worshipable in a Sham Sundar form. Navayonam Che. He still is like Sham Sundar form, we can devote. Vedeshu Durlabh. Like even people who are studying Vedas, even Vedon ko bhi, unke darshan durlabh hai, right? So Vedeshu Durlabh, like he's saying, who is inaccessible to the Vedas. Adurlabh Atma Bhakto, even though he is inaccessible to the Vedas, he is obtainable by pure and unalloyed devotion of the soul. Right? So वेदों को दुर्लभ है लेकिन आत्म भक्तों के लिए दुर्लभ नहीं है. So you can still get to Lord Govind by devotion. So that is the meaning. So I worship Govind, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, Achyutam, is without a beginning, Anadi, whose form is endless, Adhyam, who is the beginning and the eternal Purush, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. Okay, so Mr. Soham. And Soham and Shivam, Soham you can read half, and then Shivam can read another half.
Advaita means indivisible, truth whose knowledge absolute. Brahman, the infinite, emanates from him as his effluence, and God intimate. Paramatma as his constituent, but nevertheless, he remains one and invisible. Ashuta means that the myriads of avatars emanate emanate from him as subjective portions in millions of jivas as separated spiritual particles. Still, he remains intact as the undivided whole of fullest perfection, though he indulges in exhibiting the pastimes of birth, etc., etc. Still, he is without a beginning, though he disappears after the pastimes of his appearance. Still, he is eternal, though without original origin, yet he is with an origin in his pastime of appearance and all the eternal in essence. He is still a person in the full bloom of youth, the sum and substance of it, that though he possesses diverse and apparently mutually contradictory qualities, still they are in universal harmonious con- consequent by dint of his unthinkable potency.
Can see. Let Shivam read now.
This is what is meant by Siddharma, transcendental nature as distinguished from the material. His graceful, threefold bending form with flute in hand possesses eternal blooming youth and is above all unwholesomeness that is to be found in limited time and space. In the transcendental realm, there is no past and future, but only the unalloyed and immutable present time. In the transcendental sphere, there is no distinction between the object and its qualities, and no such identity as it is found in the limited mundane region. Hence, those qualities that seem to be apparently contradictory in the light of mundane conception, limited by time and space, exist in agreeable and dainty concordance in the spiritual realm. How can the jiva realize such unprecedented existence? The limited intellectual function of the jiva is always contaminated by the influence of time and space and is therefore not in a position to shake off this limitedness. If a potency of cognitive function does not extend to the realization of the transcendental, what else can? In reply, Brahma says that the transcendental absolute is beyond the reach of the Vedas. The Vedas originate in sound, and sound originates in the mundane ether. So the Vedas cannot present before us a direct view of the transcendental world, Goloka. It is the only when the Vedas are imbued with the potency that they are enabled to deal with the transcendental. But Goloka reveals itself to Jiva soul when it is under the influence of the spiritual cognitive potency joined to the essence of the ecstatic energy. The ecstatic function of devotion is boundless and is surcharged with unalloyed transcendental knowledge. That knowledge reveals Goloka Tattva, the principle of the highest transcendental, in unison and with devotion, without asserting itself separately, but as a subsidiary to unalloyed devotion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There's a very, any comments? I mean, there's a very good purport. Hello, Hare Krishna, Yugandhar. Any comments, anyone? So I think, we already discussed a little bit, but the most important is, his graceful threefold bending form with flute in hand, right? We also studied the Slok in BrahmaSamhita just before yesterday, I think, right? Possesses eternal blooming youth, and that's the form we need to do our devotion to, and we chant. And Lord Brahma is praying to Lord Govind in that fashion, right? Okay, we'll move to the next.
पन्तास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां सोऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदसिन्यविचिन्ततत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पुङ्गवानां सोऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदसिन्यविचिन्ततत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि
So, translation: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayam by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane extending over thousands of millions of years. Okay. So what it's saying is Pantastu Koti Shat Vatsar Sam Pragamyo. Okay, so Koti Shat, so that is sorry,
Thousands, millions,
right.
Many, yeah.
Extending over thousands of millions of years. Right? That is Koti Shat Vatsar Sam Pragamyo is those yogis, right? Who are the Gyan yogis. They are trying to get over this material world, right? Elimination of the mundane for thousands of years by their Gyan Yoga or by the pranayam, right? Which is Vayo Rathapi, Manso Muningavanam, right? So Muni, Jnani, Rishis, Vayo Rathapi jo pranayam ke dwara, right? Or by the Jnanis, they are trying to find who is this, like who am I, and then who wants this Brahman. But they do this for over thousands of millions of years. So apyasti yat padasin simanya vichinya tattve. That is, even after doing all this, they only get to the tip of the toe of the lotus feet is approached by the yogis. Right? So the yogis who are aspiring after the transcendental, doing pranayam, doing jnana yoga for thousands of years, understanding how to get rid of the mundane world, they only get to the tip of the toe of the lotus feet of God. But by doing the devotion, you can be better. Right? From Nisha, you want to read? Read till I highlight.
Okay.
Sorry.
The attainment of the lotus feet of Govinda consists in the realization of unalloyed devotion. The Kaivalya realized non-alternative state, which is attained by the Astanga yogis by practicing trance for thousands of millions of years, and the state of merging into the non-differentiated impersonality of Godhead beyond the range of limitation, attained by non-dualists after a similar period passed in distinguishing between the spiritual and non-spiritual and eliminating things of the limited sphere one after another by the formula not this, not that, are simply the outskirts of the lotus feet of Krishna and not the lotus feet themselves.
Now,
You asked me, Bhaiya?
yeah.
Okay. The long and short of the matter is this. Kaivalya or merging into the Brahman constitutes the line of demarcation between the world of limitation and the transcendental world. For unless we step beyond them, we can have no taste of the variegatedness of the transcendental sphere. These conditions are the simple absence of misery arising from mundane affinity, but are not real happiness or felicity. If the absence of misery be called a bit of pleasure, then also that bit is very small and of no consequence. It is not sufficient to destroy the condition of materiality, but the real gain to the jiva is his eternal existence in his self-realized state. This can be attained only by the grace of unalloyed devotion, which is essentially chit or transcendental in character. For this end, abstract and uninteresting mental speculation is of no avail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Right? So, the last lines pretty much states everything. Is real gain is self-realized state, and that we can attain by the grace of unalloyed devotion. So not by thousands of years of tapasya and jnana yoga and taking sannyas and leaving everything, you will get to the Brahman, you will get to the probably toe of the lotus feet. But to get to the Lord Krishna is the unalloyed devotion, the bhakti. Prabhuji, do you want to take 2 minutes to say comments? You're on mute, Prabhuji.
You are nicely explaining. No need. You go.
We all written, Prabhuji. So I think we only have 5-6 minutes. 6 minutes now.
6 minutes is there. 6 minutes.
Yeah. Do you want to do one more shlok or?
Yeah, we can do one.
Want to do one more?
एक और हो सकता है. एक और हो जाएगा.
ठीक है, चलो इसको.
इसका परपट, हाँ, इसका परपट बड़ा नहीं है, एक हो जाएगा.
Okay.
एकोऽप्यसो रचयितुं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्चक्षिरस्ति जगदण्डचयायन्ताः अण्डान्तरस्थपरमाणुचयान्तरस्थं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि.
So Lord Brahma is continually praying to Lord Govind in these shlokas, one after another. So the purport is, he is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. So, Eko apasyo rachiyantum jag dand kotim. So kotim is again like millions of worlds is created by his potency. Potency is the Maya Shakti. But there is no difference between that. So his Maya Shakti is his. But Yat Shakti Rasti, yani ki he is present in Jagadand Chayayadantah. So he is present in, or all the universes are existing within him. Okay, so his potency, his Shakti has created all these millions of worlds, and all these millions of worlds are actually present in him along with the potency. And Andant Rast Paramanu Chayant Rastham. So in every Paramanu, right, every atom, right, there are so many atoms. Right? Also, probably we are also like so many of, right? So scattered throughout the universe, but one Lord Govind is present in full form in every atom at the same time. Such is the Lord Govind whom I adore. So he is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore, Govindam Adi Purusham tamham bhajami. जितेंद्र पढ़ोगे? आप म्यूट पे हो जितेंद्र.
Purport. Krishna is the highest of all entities. In him is an entity which is termed Chit, spiritual, which is distinct from the principle of limitation. By his inconceivable power, he can at will create numberless universes. All the mundane universes owe their origin to the transformation of his external potency. Again, his abode is beyond human conception, since all worlds, limited and spiritual Chit, exist in him, and he resides simultaneously in his fullness and entirety in all the atoms in all the worlds. All pervasive is only a localized aspect of the majesty of Krishna, the Lord of all. Though he is all pervasive, yet in his existence everywhere in a medium shape consists his spiritual lordship beyond human conception. This argument favors the doctrine of simultaneous inconceivable distinction and non-distinction, and knocks down the contaminating and alike doctrines.
Yeah. So essentially, as we have been talking, reading, he is present in like everyone, right? So each of our soul, he is present fully in us, and that's how we are connected to the Supreme Lord. Since we only have 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, I'll just play quickly one of the meditation on this. Let's do that. And then we'll continue on Monday night because today is Thursday, so I have a long weekend.